Drake Toll alongside Barrett Slee talking a lot of the Big 12 today on Locked On Big 12 and Locked On College Football Smothered and Covered. Barrett, will the Big 12, as was written into law in the preseason, only get one team in the college football playoff?
The answer is probably no. I mean, it's like I said before, it's so hard to sort of figure this out because we've never done this before.
Yeah.
My answer is probably
Can I pause
yes.
you there then? The idea of the 12-team playoff being so catastrophic for you, where does that come from for those who aren't familiar with your very clear take that you've made many times?
I prefer excellence over access. Really, a Big 12 team is not one of the best teams in the country, right? But a team can get hot. Washington State might get in and get hot. The regular season does matter. That's why I fell in love with college football. In this day and age, I don't care that we might be talking about bids and buys for the next month of the season.
The bubble conversation.
I enjoy college football because of the uncertainty, because you can lose in week 2 and you might think your season is over, but it might not be because all hell could break loose in the month of November. That's a feature. That's not a bug. Right. And I also value the national championship in terms of teams being excellent. Liberty might make the playoff. I literally saw Kennesaw State beat Liberty up close in person last week. They still could make the playoff as a one-loss team. Not likely, but they could. Yeah. Right. Those teams don't deserve it because they had and excellence is subjective. I get that. And I think in addition to automatic bids, right? There's no, like, if you're the Big 12 champion or the second team in the Big 12, what have you done to be better than 3 or 4 teams in the SEC? I like the fact that before we could define the season based on the landscape of the season, and it changes, and that's great to me. So all of those things together, really, I love the BCS. I wish we could go back. I also don't like the fact that there are people that have other interests that are deciding this thing. In my opinion, if we are going to do this, which obviously we are, you should make the selection committee full-time employees, right? Full-time employees where they're loyal to their paycheck, where they're loyal to their families, and that's it, right? Because in our world, right, that's sort of how we operate. We don't affect the play on the field all that much, but we're supposed to be, analyst, radio host, whatever. And for my term, a writer back in the old, I guess I still am, but I am loyal to my family. I am loyal because I want to buy the stuff that I have to pay for school, all that stuff. And so I went to Auburn, right? All these Alabama fans, oh, you went to Auburn, you're biased. I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, there's a diploma right there. There's also a whole house around here, right? There's also kids' bedrooms upstairs. I don't care that the diploma's on the wall. I care that I can put it on the wall that I paid for, right? So, I would make them full-time employees. So all of that combined. But with the Big 12 this year in the playoff, I think there will be 2. I think there are a few things working against it for me to be wrong. And so I guess we'll go from there because, the landscape is kind of determined by other things, right? Outside the Big 12. Washington State's a problem. I don't think people are talking about that. It's a big problem. I think the Big 10 being more than just Oregon and Ohio State is a big problem. Yeah. Penn State and Indiana could gobble up spots. I thought there'd only be 2 Big 10 teams in my predictions. I didn't anticipate Penn State and Indiana. The SEC might actually help out the Big 12 because I had 5 SEC teams in my playoff prediction. That's not going to happen because they're going to gobble each other up. The ACC is a bigger problem for the Big 12 because I said this on Smothered and Covered yesterday. Clemson's actually becoming not just a team that can get in, but a team that can win it the way they've evolved, right? We've moved past the Georgia game in week 1. Miami obviously is there too. Yeah. Don't count out SMU. The schedule's very easy from here on out. We have Pitt, all this stuff together for the ACC could play against the Big 12 too, especially if a team like Virginia Tech gets to Charlotte and actually wins it, right? That's like worst case scenario for everybody.
Yeah.
So if all things stay sort of sober, so to speak, and college football doesn't get drunk, then I think 2 Big 12 teams is probably where they're going to be. But there are a lot of other variables that can play into that.
Couple things. 2007, LSU, 2-loss, gets into the BCS National Championship, wins the national championship, having lost their final regular season game of the year against Arkansas on the road. And I remember vividly how chaotic that was, but I think the best team in college football won the national championship, right?
Sure.
And the regular season mattered the whole way. Today, Alabama can lose in week 2 and then lose again in week 9. And okay, cool. They lost, but they're still in the college football playoff. That takes away, it invalidates a large part of your regular season. When, lose a couple, you've got a few mulligans.
Well, and not to jump in, but I'll give you a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
I covered Alabama, Georgia this year. Mm-hmm. Crazy game. Awesome game, right? Alabama blew the 28-point lead. Georgia took the lead. Ryan Williams happened. Just one of the most bonkers, crazy, chaotic games I've ever seen. On the field after, we're Georgia players were like, okay, well, I heard multiple times, we'll see you again.
Yeah.
We'll see you again. And I'm like, think about what would the reaction have been if that was in the BCS era. Like devastation.
Yeah.
And like total devastation. And I saw like a bunch of folks say, this is validation that the 12-team playoff is good because those are the 2 best teams in the country and Georgia can still get in. I'm like, yeah, that's the problem. They can still get in because the reaction here in the field right in front of you is not what it would have been 10 years ago.
Well, that's a lot of SEC talk that we've done today.
Sorry, I apologize.
In the college football playoff conversation of how you get Big 12 teams in, it is going to take something outside of this conference to happen for that to become reality. The last scenario I want to pitch you here, Barrett, and I want to see what you think, because I host Locked On Big 12, and believe it or not, that's a propaganda machine for the Big 12. In the dream scenario, we get to that Iowa State-Kansas State game where Iowa State's 11-0. BYU's cleaned up, finished business. They're 12-0 going to the Big 12 championship. Kansas State wins that game. 11-1 Kansas State, 11-1 Iowa State, 12-0 BYU, 10-2 Colorado at that point. Colorado, Iowa State missed the Big 12 championship game. They're both, at least in the bubble conversation, no doubt.
Sure.
Kansas State goes and wins the Big 12 championship. Now we're looking at 12-win BYU, 12-win Kansas State, 11-1 Iowa State, 10-2 Colorado. In this perfect Big 12 storm, there is no way to keep the Big 12 from having at least 2.
No doubt. No doubt. You just did a lot of math, and math is not my.
You see what's going on here?
I went to Auburn. We don't do math.
Yeah. I went to Baylor. I actually took ideas in math. We didn't do a lot of math. I took ideas in mathematics where we discussed what it would be like if we did math.
That's awesome. That scenario it would be fascinating in that because
what do you do?
You would have the Dion factor, right? Yeah. 2 lost Dion. You're on the bubble, but you really don't deserve it. But do you deserve it for financial reasons? All this other stuff. But I think that would be a great scenario because, like I said, I conceded the election. We're in the system, whatever. The intrigue on Selection Sunday would be awesome because in that situation, you would also have probably at least 1 or 2 Big Ten teams in that discussion, probably 1 or 2 ACC teams, definitely multiple SEC teams, and then whoever from outside, the Pac-12, the 2, like if Washington State does its thing or whatever.
Notre Dame too. Like Notre Dame.
Yeah. Dude, I saw Notre Dame up close and personal 2 weeks ago when they played Georgia Tech, and I described this on the show. They are the best boring team I've ever seen. I was so bored in that game.
Pittsburgh Steelers of college football.
Right. Exactly. I'm sitting here going, God dang, this team is so good. And I don't even care because they just go about their business. Notre Dame would be involved too. And I think Notre Dame's going to make the playoff anyway. But it would be, I would love to see that discussion. Mm-hmm. I do think in that scenario, having a third team would definitely be in the cards. 4 would not be, but a third team could definitely be in the cards there. Yeah.
And it very well could be. Iowa State fans won't like it. It could be 10-2 Colorado against an Iowa State team coming off of their first loss of the season. But hey, Deion Sanders is going to pay the bills a lot more than Matt Campbell or Abu Sama. And that's the reality of a human being led college football playoff committee that is still focused on dollar signs that have overtaken college football and ultimately ruined a product that was so good. Barrett, where can folks find more of the work that you do if they are listening to you for the first time here on Locked On Big 12?
Yeah, college football smothered and covered. YouTube page, Apple, Spotify, all that. So people know how to do the podcast thing. All the places you get podcasts.
If they're here, they should. They should at this point.
Here. Right, exactly. If you're listening or watching, you've already got that covered. So all those places, college football smothered and covered. Just search for that. Also, SiriusXM. Definitely Sunday mornings, 8 to 11 Central Time. And then throughout the week, whenever they need me, and then Outkick as well, right? And so there might be more coming in the towards the end of the season in terms of content. So I'm busy.
Boom. And you're taking your son tonight to baseball practice.
I am.
Yeah,
I am, and it's cold, man. Sitting there, I play baseball. I love baseball. Sitting and watching a practice for 2 hours in the cold at night is far less entertaining than actually practicing.
Yeah. As Kenny Chesney said, don't blink. Don't blink.
It's true.
I'm Drake Toll from Locked On Big 12. Barrett Slee, who joined the show today with a little crossover edition. We'll be talking football, college football specifically, all week long on Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. College football smothered and covered, and Dose Grande. All right.